is getting candid about his decision to return to football. Famously retired, and then he unretired from the sport, heading back to the Buccaneers for another season. Now the supermodel is breaking her silence in Elle magazine, sharing how she really feels about Brady's return to the league.
A few weeks ago, I made a video that I personally thought was very speculative for this channel, which I initially was a little nervous about making because I wasn't really sure of the source. And ever since then, this story blew up. And now we're getting more evidence that a report that at first I was more on the fence about it being true or not, seems to actually be reality. And we have an update. Up until now, we've only been hearing from Tom Brady, and he was speaking in a very mysterious way. Now we get to hear the other side of the story, and to be honest, Gisele kind of validates everything that these news sources are saying. But before we get to the content, I'm gonna start doing giveaways. Every Friday, I'm gonna announce a giveaway winner to a subscriber that turns on our notifications on this channel. Once you win, you could either win $100, a copy of Madden 23, or if you have Madden 23, I could give you $100 worth of Madden points. The winners will be announced on my Twitter account because in the past, I've had trouble documenting who won. Now that we got all of that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? This all started with Tom Brady taking 11 days off in the middle of training camp due to personal reasons. The very first theory we had on this channel was an absurd TikTok rumor, which appears to not be true. At least that's what we're all assuming. And that's the fact that Tom Brady took 11 days off of football so he could go film The Masked Singer. And the evidence for this was the fact that two of his former teammates, Rob Gronkowski and Antonio Brown, were both on The Masked Singer. Ever since then, that rumor has been completely debunked. And we found out the real reason why Tom Brady took 11 days off during training camp. And it's something that we all speculated back in March, but at the same time, it was also something that we kind of didn't take seriously because historically, Gisele was very supportive of Tom. And to be honest, she still is. It just seems like she is a little frustrated at what's going on. We have an actual interview from her for you guys in this video, so this video isn't all speculation. I made sure to do my research here. But for those of you guys that are new to the story and are now paying attention to it because it's not as much speculation anymore, it seems to be trending, I don't want to say definitively towards fact, but it seems to be trending towards an actual thing that's happening right now. The original news we got comes from Page 6 saying that Tom Brady and Gisele are in an epic fight. I'm gonna go ahead and debunk that. I don't think it's an epic fight, to be honest. It just seems like it's a disagreement and there's some frustration and it's nothing that can't be worked through. And the original report said that Tom and Gisele are in a fight right now. This has happened before with the couple, but they have always reunited in the past. The news comes after the Buccaneers quarterback missed 11 days of training in August, and when he was quizzed about his disappearance, he said this.
It's all personal, you know, everyone's got different situations they're dealing with, so we all have really unique challenges to our life. I'm 45 years old, man. There's a lot of shit going on, so you know, you just gotta try to figure out life the best you can.
A second source said that there's been trouble in the marriage over Tom's decision to unretire, and Gisele has always been the one with the kids, saying that they had agreed he would retire to focus on the family, but then he changed his mind. Gisele then apparently took a trip, and Tom Brady was seen taking care of his kids while Gisele took a trip. And as Brady did a quick about face on his retirement, Gisele also has been working again and is currently starring in a new Burberry campaign. It's almost like Gisele was like, well, if you're going to keep playing, so will I. She's resentful that Tom is still the football superstar. And I have to give credit to Tom. Whenever he was asked about this situation on the Let's Go podcast, he was very coy. He really tried to keep things as vague as possible, mainly because I'm sure he wants to maintain a degree of privacy, but all he really did was own up to his actions and say, hey, as you get older, you are faced with more responsibilities and more challenges. When you're 25 years old, you get to focus on just football. When you're 45 years old and you happen to still be freaking playing football, you also have to focus on your family, kids, your wife, and other responsibilities in addition to football if you choose to play football at the age of 45 like Tom Brady is choosing to do. And since then, the only other information we have was Gisele went ahead and actually showed tremendous support for Tom Brady prior to his opening game versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now, bear in mind, Gisele isn't necessarily somebody that tweets a lot. I mean, her last tweet tweet was on August 22nd. Prior to that, it was August 3rd. There were Instagram linked posts. Then it was a sponsorship post on July 26th. I mean, if you scroll down all of Gisele's Twitter page, you could tell this is not a woman that frequents Twitter very often. As a matter of fact, I can't find an instance where Gisele just tweeted her thoughts on Twitter. So the fact that she did this is fairly significant. She tweeted, "Let's go at Tom Brady. Let's go Bucks." Dude, I cannot tell you how crazy the responses to this tweet are. And I'm going to read a couple of them before I get to the interview that is going to actually legitimize a lot of what we were thinking. The top response on this is, "LFG, please don't divorce him over football." The next one is, "Let him play another 5 years, please." And then there's one that even said, "File for divorce." So yeah, there's a nice little variety of responses to her tweet, but I think the most important part of this video is Gisele actually admitted that the stuff that she is fighting about with Tom Brady, the fact that he decided to retire and then 40 days later decided to unretire, are things that they're actually arguing about. I mean, the article from Mike Florio even says Gisele admits that she would like Tom Brady to be more present. So the article starts with saying Buccaneers quarterback Tom Brady has said plenty of things about his overall circumstances in recent weeks. Even if he ultimately hasn't actually said very much at all, his wife Gisele has added some thoughts on the current state of her husband's career in a new interview with Elle. She repeated the past public comments regarding her obvious interest in Brady's health and well-being. So the reason why he's saying repeating is because 5 years ago, this is what Gisele had to say about Tom Brady's career. And bear in mind, this is when Tom Brady is playing at the age of 40, which is already a little bit more than the average quarterback plays, despite the level of achievement he's had. Saying, "I just have to say, as a wife, I'm a little bit, as you know, it's not the most, let's say it's an aggressive sport. He had a concussion last year. I mean, he has concussions pretty much. I mean, we don't get to talk about it, but he does have concussions. I don't think it's a healthy thing for your body to go through, to that kind of aggression all the time. That cannot be healthy for you, right? I mean, I plan on having him be healthy and do a lot of fun things when we're 100, I hope. So I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with this at all whatsoever. I mean, as Tom Brady's wife, and bear in mind, this part was 5 years ago. We have a more recent interview I'm going to get to right now. I think in this case, she just is expressing concern over Tom Brady's health and well-being. I mean, having a 45-year-old out there playing one of the most violent sports in the world behind the offensive line that Tom Brady currently has is terrifying. I mean, one hit in the wrong way. Bear in mind, man, some of these defensive linemen, I mean, most first-round draft picks or top 5 edge rushers that are coming out of the NFL draft are running 4.5 40-yard dashes, and they're 250 freaking pounds. I mean, look no further than this past year's #1 overall pick. Travon Walker ran a 4.5 40-yard dash, has a 35.5 vertical jump, has a 4.32 20-yard shuttle, and this man was this year's #1 overall pick. Those are the types of prospects that are coming into the NFL, going up against a 45-year-old Tom Brady. So this is what the article has to say, according to Elle.com. Although she and her husband have joked about his potential retirement for years, Gisele is often depicted by the media as desperate for Brady to call it quits. I tell her the characterization seems sexist to me, and she agrees. I think this is the system we've been living in. That's what society has accepted and what society hasn't accepted. Ultimately, she wants him to be happy, and she knows better than anyone how much he loves the sport. Obviously, I have my concerns. This is a very violent sport, and I have my children, and I would like him to be more present. I have definitely had those conversations with him over and over again, but ultimately, I feel that everybody has to make a decision that works for them, and he needs to follow his joy too. So it seems like there is some consistency, because when the same publication reached out for comment as various tabloids reported that the couple was taking some time apart, citing Brady's career as the flashpoint, Gisele declined to comment on the speculation when they reached out. I'm assuming because they just didn't want to draw more attention to the situation, but at the same time, I'm starting to think the fact that they're not really commenting on it, but they're saying, I clearly feel a specific way about him continuing to play, and her also saying, hey, you need to be more present, and Tom admitting that he needs to be more present as well. I'm assuming at this point that the original article that we showed at the beginning of the video is true. And I honestly think the only reason it's being blown up this much is because it's Tom and Gisele, and they're one of the top super couples in the world, so people clearly have an interest in everything that they do. But Gisele continues to talk in this interview about the situation, and it's a little bit more than what you would have gotten in Florio's article. So check this out. What is clear from our conversation, however, is Gisele is making her own plans for the future, content with her chapter away from the spotlight. I've done my part, which is to be there for Tom. I moved to Boston and I focused on creating a cocoon and a loving environment for my children to grow up in and to be there supporting him in his dreams. Seeing my children succeed and become the beautiful little humans that they are, seeing him succeed and being fulfilled in his career, it makes me happy. At this point in my life, I feel like I've done a good job on that. Looking forward, Giselle's going to make more space for her dreams as well. I have a huge list of things that I have to do that I want to do. At 42, I feel more connected with my purpose. Like we suggested in the first video, it seems like it's a combination of things. One, Gisele might need some help taking care of the kids with Tom Brady because she's a freaking superstar in her career as well. And I know we don't really understand this because we're all football fans and we're just all looking at Tom Brady thinking Tom Brady is the GOAT.
Any woman that's with him should feel lucky.
But to be honest, bro, if we were into modeling and the world that Gisele is a part of, what Gisele means to that world is equivalent, if not more, than what Tom Brady means to football. And that is saying something. So whether she just wants Tom to be more present so they can spend more time as a family, or if she feels like she went above and beyond supporting his career, probably for like 6 or 7 years longer than he should have played, and now she wants to pursue her dreams and have him help around the house with the kids, it doesn't necessarily matter. I completely see her side. I don't necessarily think it's something that's going to cause a huge deal in the regular season. I think they're going to be just fine. They seem very good at communicating and Tom Brady seems to be holding himself accountable. So guys, as I was editing this video, I checked one of my favorite websites for news and sources, and that's Real GM. And they brought some additional information to me that I was a little conflicted about including in this video. So I'm going to give it to you guys. You could choose whether you trust it or not, because I'm very conflicted about including this information in this video, but I felt like I'd give it to you guys just in case. So the source of this is CNN. So historically, CNN hasn't always necessarily been the most reliable news source, at least whenever I would read content from them. So that's just my little warning to you guys. You could do with this what you want. So apparently, according to CNN, Tom Brady and Gisele are currently living separately. The article says that Tom Brady and Gisele are going through a difficult period in their marriage. The pair, who wed in 2009, are dealing with some quote-unquote marital issues, according to a source close to the couple. The two are also living separately, per another source. Brady had retired in February, only to later reverse that decision. He took an 11-day leave of absence from training camp with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in August to quote-unquote deal with personal things. In an interview with Elle magazine published this week, Gisele said she had concerns about her husband returning to the field after initially retiring last winter. Well, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about this. I felt like I owed you guys an update after making 2 videos on this already. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.